Episode of your doctor's appointment on television. It's time for We the Doctors. My name is Dr. Jules, and of course, I do this with my colleagues, Dr. Yvonne, Dr. Valeria.
Hello, you're welcome.
And Dr. OK.
Welcome to today's show.
I'm really excited about today's show because I want to know if my colleagues, they are fighting or living with this condition. We're talking about phobias. I'm sure you've heard of it before. So it will be quite interesting. My own is kind of embarrassing, but I'm not ashamed. I'm afraid of the traditional egunu.
Okay.
Oh, the masquerade.
Okay, masquerade.
So when you see them, you just almost want to faint.
There's one particular one that has this mask that they wear on the face.
You know, growing up, we usually have those kind of things around, and then people usually have the fears of seeing masquerade around. But with time, you realize that there's a human being behind that thing. All right? Until one time when I saw someone actually wear that thing, I just thought, this stupid brand. I won't wear anything. You're not going to be scaring everybody. So in that time, you almost get to the extent of even wanting to slap one if one comes too close to you. But then again, there's just always
some
this
of them
thing.
are really very scary, especially the very big ones.
I don't go to those areas. I go to the ones that I know that the ones in Lagos that you find out and you know that one is carrying or wearing, and then you know that the human being behind this thing is just trying to scare you yourself.
I don't know if I have any phobias, really.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not scared of
I don't find that hard to
No, I'm
believe.
not.
No phobia of animals.
The reason I say that is because phobia has to be strong enough to affect your daily life.
Right.
At some point, I thought I was scared of dogs, but I play with dogs.
Okay.
I thought I was scared of swimming, but I swim now, so I really don't know what I'm scared of.
So you don't have phobia for dogs now?
See, you know what?
Or you just say that there's a breed of dogs that you're not scared
Don't
of?
worry, wait. Let me carry our viewers along first. Let me talk about the definition of phobia itself. So it's an overwhelming fear of an object or a situation that normally should not warrant such responses. So something as simple as you're afraid of snakes or something, and then you see like a cable that looks like it and you jump out of your skin and you're supposed to be in a corporate environment. That, people will be like, what is going on? So there's an overwhelming, the reaction to the stimulus is usually higher than what, is creating that stimulus, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So that is usually the problem here. So what are the risk factors concerning phobias now? Let me start with age. It's, the younger you are, you have a different type of phobia compared to when you're older.
usually more prone to phobias at the younger age.
Exactly.
Now, when you grow older, then you understand that some of those things are not so real after all.
Exactly.
So while you're growing up, you just imagine that something can just happen to you while there. So it's quite explainable.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just like kids are like shy to come out in public to
Yes.
speak,
Yes.
they almost die. That social phobia, so to say.
social phobia,
But an adult will handle it a little better than a child.
Exactly. They
So
skip
some of
the
them
fear of animals, quite a number of things. Fear of
Exactly.
being alone, a lot of things as a child, anyways.
There are other risk factors that we have.
I often like to start with saying that people are afraid of what they've experienced before. Maybe except for kids that have some natural phobias, but generally people are afraid of what they've experienced before.
Sure.
So if you've had a traumatic event in the past, like someone that's had a road traffic accident, the person will be scared of getting into a car that is speeding. I used to have this lady that anytime I give her a lift, she's holding the car seat this way. And
I heard those people that when anybody comes inside your car, the joke that time was that anytime anybody comes to your car and hold that thing by this thing, you don't know that person is to enter Molu everywhere.
Because I look at my speedometer. I'm doing 60, not miles, please. I'm doing 60 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
And she's scared. I go down to 30, she's still scared. So I'm like,
what is
Maybe she should just be walking.
do your normal 100. And if you have a traumatic event like a dog beat you in the past,
exactly.
You don't want
you'll be
to be around that
scared. You'll be scared of
particular-
dogs.
It doesn't
Exactly.
have to happen to you. It can happen to someone you know. Or someone
And
that's
you
really
now
close to you.
witness
that
how
you know.
traumatic it was.
Or you've seen those TV channels where they show you this Black Widow spider, and then the moment the spider bites someone and the person becomes inflated or bloated.
Right.
The next moment you find a spider in your house, it's not your own traumatic event. It's someone's traumatic event. But you now carry it on as if it's own. I don't have those phobias. I don't know why really.
Then a family history, like a relative.
True. A relative. It's not like it's not hereditary per se, but it can be common amongst like a group of people. Usually, it will be family. You know, children learn things really very easily.
Exactly.
If you're scared of cockroaches, for instance, I'm giving an example. It's very, very,
really
very
the
true
ones
that
that fly.
Kids.
So that
Your
people
kids
inherit
will be scared.
phobia.
No,
It's not
it's
inherited.
learned.
It's like
learned.
this. Imagine a mom sees a cockroach in the
Yes.
house and screams and runs
these
out.
kids are around.
The
These
natural
children
things
are
that the
just-
child starts running out.
Meanwhile, in your own house, you are not scared of cockroaches. So, as in, it's very normal that your own children might not be scared of this.
You know
That's
the
why
way,
you see
you know
that
the
some
way
kids
rats.
can
You know the way
handle
rats
dogs.
get into the house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know the
Yeah, in
How the
people's
rats
homes,
enter.
sometimes you find rats. Yeah. So there was this time a rat came into my house. You need to see my wife's reaction. She just is like
Flipped.
She just fled the kitchen, and I was like, "What is this?" She said, "Rat." I'm like, fear of rats. I now entered the kitchen to look for the rat. She just kept at my back, like as if the rat was going to, like trying to pull me out of where I'm looking for
I'm
the
sure
rat.
a lot of people listening can relate to that.
course.
But how do I identify that this is now a psychological problem that you need to have a third party, like a specialist, help you with? We'll be talking about that and more when we come back right after the break. Don't go far.
Hi, you're welcome back. It's with the doctors. I'm Dr. Yvonne. We've been talking about phobias. And now we'll be talking about the reactions to phobia. I'm sure a lot of people have so many reactions. You might want to contribute, but we'll be giving you the little ones we have here. Earlier, Dr. Jules mentioned saying that phobia is an overwhelming fear. It's not like you're not scared of things on a good day, but this is an overwhelming fear of a situation, or it could be that of an object that normally shouldn't pose any danger, but it provokes immense anxiety and avoidance. You just want to avoid that particular thing. You don't want it to come anywhere close to you. So I'll say it's a little different from brief anxiety because this one is long-lasting and has the ability to affect your daily function.
Dr. Yvonne, there's one Ojoro that wants to happen in this show.
My God.
Because I shared my phobia here. And everybody else kept quiet. So what is your own?
My phobia is phobia.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
No, Dr. Valeria.
No, I used to be scared of heights, you know.
You used to, or you're scared of heights?
I think I've
You've outgrown it.
I think I knew I used to have a phobia.
Which one?
Driving
told
on
you.
bridges.
Oh.
But you know, since I moved,
and then going, especially going on the bridge, and then the one over the water, and then driving on the side by the water, you would never find me there.
No, the truth is,
So I always keep to the other side because you don't want anything happening
the
to
thing
you.
is, even when I'm not the one driving, I used to be scared of being in a car on a bridge.
On a bridge.
And then it's
But
by the
after
side
I
of the
moved to
water.
Lagos,
Why? What's the fear? You feel it will break?
Yeah, something like that. Imagining.
I hold my breath
Yeah.
almost throughout.
Yes.
When crossing the bridge. No, I grew
Can't
up in
hold your
Onitsha.
breath on third
I'm
mainland.
telling you, I grew up in Onitsha. So crossing the Niger Bridge then was an experience. I'll hold my breath. I'll be so scared.
Right.
In fact, I was once.
I wish I were walking on the bridge by the side of the water.
Now let me tell you, eventually
almost pass out.
to kill the phobia, when I started driving, I would now leave the house and decide to just drive across the bridge and drive back because I wanted to get over it. Okay. And then when I moved to Lagos...
did I help you?
Yeah, I did. When I moved to Lagos, my quest to conquer the phobia, I started driving close to the water side.
Right.
So one guy told me, guy, better stay in the middle lane.
Just to be safe. But what are those reactions now that are likened to phobia itself? Because some people can relate to this.
I just gave you one. Then on the bridge, I'll hold my breath.
Yeah.
It's just something I did. I felt maybe if I fall into the water, my breath is already being held, so I won't breathe in the water. I don't just know what caused it.
Hold your breath for 15 minutes.
No, Niger Bridge was a short one. So it's like hold your breath, you breathe in immediately, then hold it again because you don't know where you're going to get into the water.
So is that supposed to be a physical sign?
Maybe if you call it a visitor sign.
Yeah, because then again, some other people will come in and then you can feel that they are having palpitations.
Not a small thing.
Right? They are sweaty and all of that. They
And
have
their
red
face
eyes.
is red.
Yeah, exactly.
My
So you know that
Yes.
this person
Their
is really...
heart rate will...
Exactly.
It will
Even for
increase.
kids, sometimes when you see dogs, you can just see that the child is turning red and is breathing very fast and stuff like
There's
that.
this thing
Right?
we call fear.
Well, exactly.
local balance. You just enter house. That one na fear pikin jo. In fact, phobias used to form a differentiation between child and pikin in our environment.
Exactly.
Because the one where they too fear, they over crying one that the pikin now that they fear pikin. So any small thing, fear, they come hospital, fear.
Also,
Do you get?
There's also
and
uncontrolled.
in as much as it sounds like play, that's phobia that the child has.
True.
Now fear be that.
Exactly. Uncontrolled panic too. Everything is interwoven in one way or the other. So we'll also be talking about the types of phobias.
There are so many.
There are so many of them.
Dr.
Which one is like?
Valeria mentioned one now.
Fear of heights.
Yes.
I used to have that before, but now I have, I long to go bungee jumping.
Really?
Yes,
So you go on a skyscraper and look down.
You know, even as a young child, when we used to go on the park,
and then you go up
30,000 feet. I want to jump off it.
Let me tell you my story.
And that's not being suicidal. That's
wait, hold on.
I traveled to England and I wanted to do skydiving, not bungee jumping. Bungee, they escape now.
Yes.
Skydiving. Do you know the day I wanted to go? My nephew locked me in the house. He said, okay, so that
that's done. They touch your
they
head.
will now come and tell me that I was the one that killed you in England.
That's done. They touch your head.
And that one is called acrophobia.
Yes.
So I don't have a fear for that, but some people can have this overwhelming. Even if it is 2-3 stories, they cannot stay there. That is the problem with that one. The fear of isolation is also another one.
Yeah, that's called autophobia. And then you find that a lot of people have it. I used to have it a bit when I was a little young.
Really?
I never used to like to stay alone.
A while ago, Wale didn't have any phobia.
No, calm down. We time.
One by one.
I just didn't like the fact that I was alone in the house and all that kind of thing. So I would always want to go out and see people. And then you can imagine those days. Imagine staying in the house alone at night or staying in the room. And you had a room to yourself, and then you stay in the room at night, and then maybe after a couple of minutes, I just move to my mom's room or someone's room to go and stay because I just wanted, people around me. So you have people that are like that; they just can't stay alone because they're always, scared and worried.
There's another one called agoraphobia. You'll be very surprised. A lot of people have this fear of crossing the road. There are some people that can't cross the road on their own. I've seen someone actually wanting to cross the road, got to the middle and ran back.
Exactly.
I'm serious. There are a lot of people like
and
that.
There was no car coming.
I'm not joking. She couldn't cross normally because she was scared.
There are
I
can imagine.
There are so many of them.
The fear of dogs. Some say cynophobia, but actually the fear of dogs. When people are scared of dogs, whether it's the pet dog, the baby dog, the chihuahua.
I am just longing to hear what we have to say from the streets.
Okay, so now we're asking the people outside there, what do you fear the most?
Exactly.
We talked about
I think I have alitophobia. Fear of bad breath.
Better still gerascophobia, fear of growing old. All those girls that are doing things, fear of growing old.
You are saying girls, men, gynophobia, fear of women.
What do the people have to say from the streets?
We'll be back. Please stay tuned.
Yeah, actually, I'm afraid of traveling by sea, because of the wave on the high sea. And also, I'm not a swimmer. I can't be able to, escape myself.
I'm only afraid.
What is your fear? What are you afraid of?
I'm only afraid of death.
No, well, I'm not afraid of anything because I'm a child of God.
I think it's a general phobia everybody has, which is death.
Actually nothing, but afraid of, right? Well, sometimes I'm afraid of people, depending on them, their actions and other things.
When I try to do something and it's not really working out, and I see people telling me it's not working out.
What I'm afraid of is truly sinning against God and go hell. So I'm afraid of hell. That is it. But if say death or life, I'm not afraid of it because that one is in the hands of God.
What I would say is I'm afraid of maybe if I'm inside car, more speed. I'm most afraid of it. And also walking in the darkness in the night. That's it.
Honestly speaking, I'm afraid of NEPA. And the reason is this. They keep on bringing crazy bills they said because we don't have prepaid meters, ordinary bedroom flat, at 3-bedroom flat at Mushi, they collect as much as 15,000, 12,000 in a month. So anytime the month is running to an end right now, I cannot sleep. I have a rapid heartbeat. I'm only afraid of NEPA, nothing more. The security is there by now.
Okay, and we're back. It's time for the interview segment. This is We the Doctors. We're talking about phobias today. Do you have a phobia for anything? That's what we'll be talking about with a shrink, in quotes. He's all the way from the Outlets Consultants. He is a qualified psychologist, and his name is Onyedikachi Ekwerike. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jules.
Right, today we're talking about phobias. Now, I know that I have my own phobia for certain things, but before we go into that, can you tell us a little bit about your history, your work history, about Outlets Consultants?
All right, like you said, I'm Onyedikachi Ekwerike. I'm a psychologist, principal consultant at Atlias Consulting. What we do basically is to offer psychological services. We help individuals, families overcome behavioral challenges and mental health related issues.
Okay.
Basically, that's what we do. I'm also the Nigerian coordinator for Postpartum Support International. We're actually leading a campaign in Nigeria here on postpartum depression, which is something that's prevalent among women today in Nigeria.
That's fantastic. I know we've talked about postpartum depression before, but it's a good thing that people know that we have people that are dedicated to that condition specifically. Now, all about phobias. When do you see a doctor? Like we said, everybody has fears. When is it so problematic that you need a third party? You need somebody to help you with that diagnosis?
All right, like you said, we all have fears. It's normal to experience anxiety one time or the other. But when you start to experience phobias and they interfere with your daily functioning, then you need to get help. One thing that is common with individuals who have phobias is that they experience panic attacks.
Right.
So when these panic attacks are very, very intense and they are persistent, then it's imperative that the individual in question seeks help, professional help.
Can you qualify that panic attack so that people can understand what is the person feeling at that particular point in time when the person is having a panic attack?
Okay, like fear generally, panics, you start to tremble, you start to sweat, you have shortness of breath, you start to basically try to do all you can to avoid that particular situation if you can. And if you cannot, then you start to experience the symptoms that we talked about now. Okay. So basically, when you start experiencing this symptom, every time you come in contact with that source of fear, then it's imperative that you seek help.
Okay. So is there any group, like a risk factor for phobias in this condition?
Certainly, there are risk factors. For example, if you have relatives who have specific phobias, then there's more chance that you're more likely to have a phobia for that particular object. For example, we have discovered as psychologists that when a parent have a phobia for a particular object, then it's more likely that the child too would learn that phobia. So phobias are actually
more like
learned.
the person was, okay, it's learned, like conditioned into having that particular symptom.
Certainly.
Oh,
certainly.
really?
It's a learned behavior.
Okay.
We all come into the world with just two fears.
Okay.
The fear of falling, okay, and also the fear of loud noise.
I thought you were going to say fear of darkness.
No, we don't fear darkness when we come into the world.
So fear of falling.
Yes,
and
children generally would fear falling when they learn how to walk, and also loud noise or sounds. So when you make a loud noise, the child is afraid. That's the only fear we come with. Every other fear we have is learned, either from watching people or actually from experiences. If you've probably gone through a very traumatic experience or a traumatic event, your mind will be conditioned into trying to avoid similar situations, and so you try to avoid anything that will make you come in contact with either the object. For example, individuals who have been bitten by a dog before.
Or a snake.
Exactly. So you start to avoid that particular animal, and before you know what's happening, a phobia develops.
Okay. So how do you diagnose it in a patient? Is it purely clinical?
Not all phobias demand treatment. So an individual could very well manage his phobia by avoiding the source of fear. But when it begins to interfere with the individual's daily funcking, then, like I said,
you cannot cope by themselves.
Exactly. So what we do basically is to have the individual come in. Therapy is the basic tool used to helping that person overcome that phobia. We look at the symptoms the person is experiencing, if it actually is a sign that the person has a phobia for the particular item. Oftentimes we have more than one fear. So what we do is basically to do a sort of hierarchy. What's the thing you're most afraid of, and what comes next, and then we see where that particular fear is in that hierarchy, and then we start to help the person overcome it.
Do you need to like replicate put the person in like the same situation that might trigger the phobia to control it in certain instances?
Sure. In one of the techniques we use, which is called systematic desensitization, we expose the individual gradually to the source of fear. Yeah. So, for example, the individual has a fear of heights, acrophobia. Right. What we do is to probably expose the person to different levels of heights, to the point where the individual can then manage the situation. Okay. Now, for the same thing that happens when an individual is afraid of snakes. Okay, so you gradually introduce the person to that.
You bring a live snake?
No. What we do at times is to get a dummy. Okay.
Okay.
Because what happens is that they generalize these fears. Anything that looks like a snake triggers those panic attacks. So even if they see a long cord in the night,
I know
they get scared. Okay, they panic. So what we do is to introduce those stimulus, that particular object, and gradually the person becomes used to it. And what we do is make the person relearn that behavior, or realize that it's not so traumatic, it does not pose so much danger, and you can actually manage yourself better in such conditions.
Is there any room for medication for treatment of phobia?
Like I said, I'll speak from my own perspective as a psychologist. Yes. As a psychologist, we actually do not prescribe drugs.
Yes.
But then psychiatrists could prescribe drugs if the individual breaks down often and is not able to manage the situation even after talk therapy.
So there are instances where you can refer the person to a psychiatrist?
Yes, because it can then become so serious. Like I said, it's an anxiety disorder.
Right.
Okay, so an anxiety disorder could disrupt your life, could make you not function well at work. Okay, because what we found out is that individuals who have this panic attacks, who have this phobia, even the mere thought of the objects would trigger those attacks.
Even if they are not in that circumstance at that particular
certainly.
point in
so
time.
They probably be at work, like you are here now discussing whatever you fear.
And the thought of something falling on.
And then you cannot function anymore. So,
for instance, if I have a fear, like I have a fear for this traditional masquerade and stuff like that.
Okay.
Do you have to wear the costume and come out and scare me?
No. Basically, what we do is to talk about those fears. Like I said, it's an irrational fear.
Right.
So we have the individual question that fear, question those thoughts, because it all begins with a thought.
Right.
Okay. So you question it. Now, it's a process.
Right.
By the time you question the thoughts, and then you come to see that it's irrational. Then every time you're in that situation, you ask yourself,
you now reason yourself out of that
situation.
Fantastic.
So it calms you down gradually. So in situations where we don't have the object, okay, for example, an individual is afraid of aeroplanes, okay, we cannot start to simulate that.
Right.
Okay, but we have to then talk the person out of it and have the person, someone up the courage to actually take airplanes.
Okay, get the root cause of why that phobia started in the first place?
We have to. Because oftentimes what happens is the person has gone through either a turbulent
episode
on air, so he begins to generalize and say, okay, every time I take an airplane, I'll experience that same problem, which is often not the case.
Exactly.
Individuals who are afraid to take airplanes should first of all ask themselves how many times do an airplane crash?
Right.
Okay, not so often. So
it's one of the safest
ways of traveling.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's a whole lot of people who are afraid of taking airplanes.
Okay.
So like I said, irrational fears. So when you begin to challenge that irrational fear, you begin to find that you tend to outgrow that phobia.
Right.
For example, I used to have a fear of public speaking. Okay, funny enough.
Doesn't show.
Funny enough, I outgrew it. Because I realized that, okay, it's a tool that you would need. It's not that bad. Nobody's going to eat you up. And then gradually...
the service that you're providing is quite important. How can people reach you? Is there any contact that you can share?
Certainly. We have our website, www.adliasconsulting.com.
Okay.
You can also reach us on Facebook, on Twitter, @consult@lias. My personal Twitter handle is @kachi_gili. Pretty much, you could reach us on those platforms and we'll get to you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was quite insightful. So we will take a break. The show continues. We, the doctors, will be right back.
Hello and you're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is With the Doctors. My name is Dr. Valeria. We have been talking about phobias. And then in this segment, we'll be talking to you about things you need to do to get over this phobia. And I think the most important thing is that you need to identify this thing. Identify what it is that is getting you scared and worked out, right? And then once you can identify your phobia, then you start taking out steps on how to overcome it. What are the things you guys think?
I would say write down your goals for killing the phobia. Now, it's not every time that you get to see a shrink.
Now, you're making it sound serious. Which one to write goal? Are you trying to make money or do business?
That's what I mean.
Write goal on top of phobia.
I'll give you an example.
How about you just discover and say, I'm not getting scared again?
Okay, I was scared of bridges.
Yes.
Driving across it.
So you now wrote it down that every day of the week?
I had to decide for myself that I'll leave Oka, drive through Onitsha to get to Asaba, just to cross that bridge to get over it.
First you go talk to that because you don't get work.
That's not the reason.
Not going to show up at that.
And here in Lagos now, my best part of driving is always on Third Mainland Bridge. I set my targets. How quickly do I want to finish the bridge? 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes.
So now overcame.
Yes, what you are even saying is more like a coping mechanism. And most of the time, when you write stuff down, it's easier for you to confront it. So it's just like writing the demons down and you looking at it.
Because imagine you are driving across the Third Mainland Bridge and then the car that is in front of you says, I'm scared of bridges, keep clear.
My goodness.
Well, that could be the person's own coping mechanism.
He can't read it, it's scaring you.
Exactly. And again, you want to tell others about your phobia, but at the same time too, it's not good for you to now use it against the person because you know that this is what Mr. A or B is scared about.
What's the phobia for
usually
horror movie,
they help.
I don't even know if they have one like that.
I'll give you.
For instance, somebody
phobia for horror movie. I used to have. On the movie you watch, you don't be able to sleep at night. You'll be thinking that thing that happened in the movie will come and attack you. You'll be seeing the demons.
See, I'm going to let's just go straight to the question we have from the social media.
Yeah.
It's actually, the question is for us because we are doctors. I will just let you know. His name is Emmanuel still. At We The Doctors, that's where he sent in the question. He says, Doctor, how do I overcome my fear for medications? I go to the hospital, they give me drugs, I don't take them. It's now bad. I'm even afraid of going to the hospital at all.
It's not yet.
Pharmacophobia, serious pharmacophobia.
No, don't say that. No. Don't say that. You feel he's not sick, but he's really ill.
But he cannot take drugs.
And you give him his medication.
Either as injection, as oral, or just oral.
Drug, medication, generally.
He just doesn't like.
He doesn't like drug.
The one that really worked for me was putting it in my EBA.
Yeah.
That could work on your swallow. So when you put the drug,
she's bringing methods that work.
If you put it into your swallow, that's what we eat here in
Or you can even dissolve it with a drink. It helps.
But the drink will change taste.
No, it will change. No, it will change taste. But then again, it depends. If it's a very sweetened drink,
let's not go to science, because science will start telling us about minimal active concentration. What I think Mr. Emmanuel is actually discuss with the doctor giving you the medications. You guys will have to find a method that works. There are some medications we do direct observation to make sure you take them and then make sure you swallow them and say, do for us. Look under your tongue to be sure it's not there. Your doctor may want to start that approach. The doctor can also convert some of your medications to injections. If you love injections.
I'm still waiting to see who will prefer injections over.
There are a lot of people do actually. A lot of people that do prefer injections.
But we'll continue the tips on social media. At We The Doctors, that's the handle to follow. We are always happy to answer your questions. We've been talking about phobias today. Thank you so much to our guests that came in. Please follow us, like I said earlier, on social media at We The Doctors. Till we meet again, same time, whenever they schedule our show. Bye-bye.
Now just enjoy the video they want to just watch. Make una sharply subscribe to our channel. Not darling.